They say from Park Avenue to the park bench. I was engaged in criminal activity, addicted to drugs. I was in methamphetamine psychosis for many years. I made a lot of poor choices, addicted to a lot of drugs, booze, marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy, and for 11 devastating years.
All right, welcome everyone to the One Moment Podcast. You have myself, Kevin Odom. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor, a licensed clinical addiction specialist, and a clinical certified supervisor in the state of North Carolina. We have a very special and amazing guest on, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
My name's Ed Kressy. It's great to be here. Thanks, Kevin.
I'm Trevor Zylstra. I'm a former correctional professional that worked at a mental health facility and worked a restrictive housing area that had to do with individuals with extreme mental discapabilities, if that's even a word, discapabilities. But anyways, thank you for joining us, Mr. Ed. We appreciate you having.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for your work. I do a lot of work with correctional professionals. I'd love to talk about it. A lot of my work is in prisons, in other types of correctional facilities, and it's thanks to correctional officers such as yourself, or as you were in your former career, that were able to be of service. So thank you.
Absolutely. No, and I think that's, the cool thing about the way we operate as far as the One Moment Podcast. And this is, kind of like an intro for you and reiteration for the audience, whoever's going to be watching this episode later, is, we are the type of podcast where anything goes, right? If it's related to healthcare, we don't really care what the topic is, because our goal is to bring global awareness, right? That's our goal. We have people that are in different countries that we're going to be interviewing over the next couple of weeks. And so we have some major goals and some and amazing guests lined up. So I don't want to take up too much of your introduction. I know you already introduced yourself. So I know we spoke about corrections yesterday. You do a lot of work in corrections. Yeah, and I'm going to let you kind of take the bull by the horns, kind of see where this thing is going to go, because I'm eager to learn what we all can do better.
Beautiful. Take the bull by the horns. I love that. I was in methamphetamine psychosis for many years. I made a lot of poor choices, addicted to a lot of drugs, booze, marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy, and for 11 devastating years, methamphetamine. I didn't serve. I engaged in a lot of criminal activity because, by the nature of the laws of society, people who are addicted to drugs, like I was, we have to commit criminal acts in order to drugs are illegal for the most part. So I was engaged in criminal activity, addicted to drugs. A lot of good opportunities had come my way in my life. College education, home ownership. Addiction doesn't discriminate. They say from Park Avenue to the park bench, from you've heard the expressions. Despite all the opportunities I had, relationships, family, career, I had a career with a very successful biotech firm that treated me extremely well. I worked for Stanford University. They treated me very well. Yet my poor choices led me to years of psychosis, destitution, brief incarceration, homeless shelters, psych ward. Thanks to God and thanks to a lot of help, thanks to a spiritual path, a path of transformation, a path of service, thanks to a lot of help, in 2007, I found the strength to turn my life around. In 2007, my circumstances were dire. I burned through all my life savings, sold my home, had nothing left except the clothes on my back, wearing tattered canvas Converse shoes held together with duct tape, a filthy black baseball jacket. All I owned in 2007, October, were the clothes on my back and, a cell phone that I maybe had a few minutes left on. I hadn't showered, hadn't brushed my teeth in months, heard disembodied voices that were beamed into my field of hearing by the FBI because a global 9/11 conspiracy had targeted me as I had inadvertently befriended a 9/11 hijacker while I was kickboxing in Bangkok. But the hijacker was actually a counterterrorism operative who infiltrated Al Qaeda. And furthermore, I was a top secret FBI counterterrorism operative. We can go on and on and on, but you get the point. The psychosis, the delusional thinking, the paranoia, the conspiracy theories. There were some elements of truth. I really, in reality, I had gone to Bangkok. I did do a lot of kickboxing, and I befriended a guy when I was in Thailand who resembled one of the hijackers. And even to this day, I feel there's something more to his story than he was just some guy out there in Bangkok kickboxing. The point is, I took the reality of my world and wove into it these delusional, paranoid conspiracy beliefs because of my methamphetamine psychosis, due to my addiction. And even in the years after 2007, for many, many years, I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, really avoided medication for the most part. I have nothing against medication. It's just not for me. I took a very low dose medication for a while, and it did help. It did help. But I found the path of meditation, fitness, nutrition, service, spirituality, the path of the three S's. I call it the three S's, the letter S. The three S's: spirituality, service to others, and self-improvement. The path of the three S's, that's what got me to the point of where I'm at now. I wrote a book. My life's dream was to author a book. The book is about my addiction and recovery. In fact, the book is called My Addiction and Recovery. Not the most creative title, I know, but the title tells the story. The book, in 2007, in 2020, I published the book. Very quickly, I realized that rather than I had these dreams. The book's going to be a bestseller. There's going to be a movie. There's all these, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yet, what happened along the way was I'd been allowed to do some volunteering inside correctional facilities, thanks to departments of corrections, thanks to incarcerated people. I was allowed to go to Pelican Bay State Prison up in Northern California. I spent about 6 days volunteering there. Yeah, High Desert State Prison, which is a similar maximum security prison in California, county jail in San Francisco, where I lived most of my adult life. My path of volunteering, the remarkable inspiration that I received from incarcerated people and from people in law enforcement. A lot of police officers, a lot of FBI people, corrections officers certainly were my sponsors, my mentors, my friends. Thanks to inspiration from people in law enforcement, thanks to inspiration from incarcerated people, that book I mentioned in 2020, published it, started donating the book to prisons. We donated about 1,200 hard copies. From there, I founded, with a lot of help, a nonprofit called Uncarcerated, like incarcerated, except with the letter U. Uncarcerated now serves, I would say we serve about 300 incarcerated people each week. We do a Zoom meeting. In fact, we're recording this on Wednesday, April 23rd. Our Zoom meeting, our national Zoom meeting, is in about an hour and a half. The Zoom meeting, we get about 100 to 200 incarcerated people, mostly in Arizona, some in Ohio, some in the state of Maine. We bring in celebrities as guest speakers. We had Josh Brolin be a guest speaker for us. He was incredible, fantastic. We've had Jay Moore, who's a good friend of mine from Saturday Night Live and in a number of movies. We've had Tom Arnold came in to speak. We've had Jennifer Jimenez. We also have retired pro athletes, best-selling authors, national recovery advocates, and a lot of quote-unquote normal people, people like me who got a lot of help to overcome addiction, people who were gang members, spent a lot of time incarcerated. We had the state director in Arizona, the director of the Department of Corrections, Ryan Thornell, Dr. Ryan Thornell, remarkable individual. He came to speak for us. So these individuals come in, they do a talk on Zoom for the prison, for the incarcerated population. They bring a powerful, powerful message of recovery, of transformation. We're going to have our 50th meeting next week. We've been doing this for about a year. Between that and the book donations, thanks to a wonderful firm called Edovo. They're a nonprofit. Edovo is, I see you nodding your head. So Kevin, so maybe you've heard of Edovo. They provide content to the incarcerated population via a tablet system. My book is available on Edovo to 500,000 incarcerated learners. It's free. I don't make any money. It's all donation, and certainly it's free for incarcerated people to read my book. Hopefully they'll get some value from it as a tool to turn their lives around, as I was helped to do. These are some of the beautiful blessings of a life of transformation, thanks to recovery, thanks to the path of the 3 S's: spirituality, service, and self-improvement. I have a beautiful, beautiful life, not because of a lot of material things, although when it comes to material things, I have everything I need. I live in a beautiful town in Massachusetts. I just got back from a wonderful hike with a dog I take care of up a mountain. The life of the material possessions is there. I have everything I need, but the beauty in my life is my life has purpose. My life has a purpose. I was taught very early on, seek ye first the realm of heaven. Seek first the realm of heaven. My beliefs in an afterlife, and what any person's spiritual beliefs might be, it's any beliefs that are different from mine are no, in my opinion, are no more right or no more wrong than mine. Spirituality, I've been taught, is a very personal, individual choice, and there are as many quote unquote correct spiritual paths as there are spiritual practitioners. My personal path is thanks to a belief in the afterlife. I was suicidal back in 2008, 2009, for many years after I quit meth, because of the schizoaffective disorder, the depression, the paranoia, a lot of the methamphetamine psychosis. Bits of it stayed with me, sometimes more than bits. For years after I quit meth, I was paranoid about the FBI, about law enforcement, conspiracies. The depression was just so crushing. I just didn't, not so much that I wanted to kill myself, but I didn't want to live. I just did not want to live. I had my 357 pistol. This is back in 2008, 2009. I used to carry around this, when I was high on meth, I would carry around this big old 357 because I was afraid rogue FBI agents were coming after me to kidnap and torture me to death. And back into, for years after I quit meth, I would fantasize about putting that pistol in my mouth and yanking the trigger. I lived very close to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, where unfortunately a lot of people take their lives. I'm certain I would have killed myself. I'm absolutely certain I would have killed myself were it not for the spiritual belief in the afterlife that was instilled in me. I had a couple of meditation teachers, a guy, Pat McGuire, remarkable individual who came up in the Irish Street, I guess you call it a gang, Irish Street gangs in San Francisco, and Michael Descend, a Zen practitioner. They taught me some spiritual lessons back in 2008. I came to a belief in the afterlife. My belief in the afterlife that Michael Descend and Pat McGuire instilled in me, my belief evolved into, or was taught to me, so that if I were to take my life, I would have to go backwards through many lifetimes. That belief about if I killed myself, I'd have to go backwards through lifetimes. That belief was all that kept me from committing suicide. I'm certain of it. And this is for years after I quit meth. I'm going on and on and on. The point is, despite all the material, all the advantages I was given, the college education, the career, Stanford, the home, I used to ride this beautiful BMW motorcycle. Despite all of it, I got to this point of methamphetamine psychosis, severe mental health challenges, schizoaffective disorder, addiction, suicidal depression, rescued from all of it because of a belief in spirituality, because of the path of the 3 S's. Again, spirituality, service to others, and self-improvement. And now I live a beautiful life of purpose, thanks to incarcerated people and thanks to people in law enforcement, and many others too. But those two groups those two groups, people in the FBI. I used to go into the FBI offices high on meth, right? I would go into the FBI high on meth and submit complaints or requests. Dear FBI, please stop following me. Dear FBI, please help me find out who is following me, right? I'm in the office, so they see my ID. My name is on the request form and the complaint form. They know who I am. Nevertheless, the FBI, so much to their credit, after I turned my life around, they selected me to participate in their Citizens Academy. The FBI Citizens Academy is a volunteer organization that creates barriers of trust between the Bureau and the citizens that the society that the Bureau serves. In 2019, I was at FBI headquarters being recognized by the FBI director. The FBI director recognized me with a community service award for my work to reduce recidivism in San Francisco. I was one of 57 Americans to be recognized. And if that doesn't speak to the value of second chances and the potential for law enforcement to help people like me transform our lives, I wasn't some guy when I was in my conspiracy beliefs. I wasn't just some guy in an apartment by myself. I was that, but I was known to the FBI. Driver's license in the FBI offices, signatures. Nevertheless, the Bureau gave me a second chance. So many corrections officers, so many executives and DOCs, cops, so many people in law enforcement gave me a second chance. Many, many incarcerated people gave me a chance. Many incarcerated people in Pelican Bay, high desert state prisons, county jails in Arizona shared their stories with me, allowed me to be of service. And these are the reasons I was able to turn my life around and overcome my mental health and addiction challenges. Now
Wow,
I'm on a remarkable podcast, man. I get to meet guys like you, and I get to hopefully be of some degree of service to your audience. Thanks so much to your audience. Your audience has many, many choices for how to spend their time. For your audience to be here, spending it listening to me, I'm very grateful and hope that you're getting something out of my story.
Feeling lost or alone, struggling with unbearable trauma or addiction. Every day feels heavier than the day before. The weight of unaddressed emotions and problems can leave you paralyzed. On the One Moment podcast, we are aligned with the vision and mission of The Place to Heal. Founded in Sanford, North Carolina, The Place to Heal is a growing multi-specialty mental health and substance use practice dedicated to facilitating healing and personal development. Our team of compassionate clinicians are committed to providing evidence-based therapeutic interventions tailored to each individual's unique journey. We are passionate about empowering our clients to overcome challenges and achieve emotional wellness. The Place to Heal hosts and sponsors the One Moment podcast. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast and to be connected to The Place to Heal. Follow us on social media for more content.
I am perplexed because, and I'm sure Trevor can speak to it. Ruben, what's going on, Mr. Ruben? Oh my God. Listen, Ruben, you just completely missed all the best parts. Mr. Ed, this is our co-host, Mr. Ruben Burney. He is a certified alcohol and drug counselor, and he popped in to say hello. So,
right, yeah. I'm out actually because I have to talk to the doctor about having I'll be 69 Sundays. I got to have in June I got to have a hip replacement. So I have to meet with the doctor. So I just popped in, but I have to try to run and meet with the doctor so he can do X-rays and give me an appointment.
Right. Best wishes to you, Ruben.
Okay.
So you look
absolutely.
You're looking 69.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday. Happy
thank
early
you.
birthday.
Nice meeting you, and I'll watch the podcast and hopefully connect with you. Okay.
I hope so.
All right.
Yeah,
Y'all take care. Take care.
I've done a number of podcasts. Take care, Ruben. I've been fortunate to do a number of podcasts. All of them have been amazing experiences. This one, I would say, has the best accents. Love the
Okay.
accents. North Carolina, Kevin, Ruben, is that also a North Carolina accent?
Ruben is New York, and I kind
And
of
North
mix mine
Carolina.
up between the UK, New
Right.
York, North Carolina.
All
Right.
right. All
Yep,
right.
yep.
Yeah.
So
All right.
but
Take care, everybody.
you mentioned, all right, Ruben.
All
Take
right.
care, Ruben.
You mentioned a lot, Mr. Ed, and wow, again, I am just perplexed, surprised, ecstatic. Like there's not enough words in the dictionary to describe. But you mentioned a lot of things. Recidivism rates, trust, all the work that you do, and especially with the psychosis, right? What I've seen clinically, there's a lot of psychoses, drug induced psychoses, and the goal clinically and medically, right? And I can't speak on medically, but clinically is to hopefully get them back to baseline behavior, right? Baseline normal behavior, or what we can consider to be normal, which is no psychoses, right? Uh, and to continue pushing forward past that with continued recovery and all of that. And what you shared was the basis of what we try to do as healthcare providers, and former corrections officers and corrections lieutenants, right? Like Trevor. And the goal is to provide those resources to them. And you shared about your own organization and what y'all are doing. And you're being that voice for change. You're being that bridge the gap, right? There's a huge disconnect. And this is what I've seen between law enforcement, corrections, and healthcare, and people getting sober. People living the second chance, right? Getting that second chance. There's a huge disconnect in that, and I love that you shared that your goal is to rebuild those connections. Definitely rebuild. So, and of course, that's our goal on the podcast, right? Is to rebuild connections, whether it's in Massachusetts, whether it's in North Carolina, California, wherever. I guess one of my questions to you is, and because you do a lot, you know, and your goal is to rebuild and help change lives. What do you feel like is needed or missing? And I think either how you perceive that question is going to be the same answer. What do you feel like is needed more to help fuel that those changes, right? Those connections, with the trust, right? And getting the information out there, getting the resources out there. What do you feel like is needed or missing that we can do better at as a whole in your experience?
What I've seen that is most needed and the most missing is the human connection, seeing the human beings behind the badges, behind the bars. I believe I've been taught that it's no more right to label a person because they wear the uniform of a police officer or a person in corrections than it is right to label someone because they wear the uniform of a person in prison. I've seen that behind the walls of our jails and prisons, we can find people who truly deserve to be walking the streets free. And and behind the wheels of our squad cars and behind the desks in our departments of corrections, we can find people who truly deserve to be entrusted with protecting our streets. The question is, to me, how hard are we willing to look? How hard are we willing to look? Understanding that police officers, corrections officers are human beings. People in prison, incarcerated people are human beings. I've sat down with gang leaders, leaders of national prison gangs in Pelican
Wow.
Bay, Secure Housing Unit, the BGF, the AB, the Black Guerrilla Family, the Aryan Brotherhood, gangs that we've all heard of. I've sat down with these individuals, and this, it might seem obvious, but I like to say it anyway. By no means do we give blanket endorsement to all things law enforcement, or do we give blanket endorsement to all the actions taken by people like me who hurt others through our poor choices. We're not condoning every action taken. We know that tragic things happen in the name of law enforcement every day. We don't condone that, any more than we condone criminal actions that hurt people, actions like I've taken many times in my life. The the goal I feel is to really relate on a human to human level. I've seen these gang leaders I've sat across from gang leaders and many other incarcerated people as they've shared their stories with me. I find that we're much more similar than we are different. We're much more similar than we are different. And with my friends who are FBI agents or police officers, I find the same thing. You know, I used to fear and mistrust people in the FBI and cops and corrections. I used to think I was better than incarcerated people. I really did. I thought, you know, I myself, I only served a little bit of time, a couple of months in county jail, a couple of weeks locked up in a psych ward. I truly used to think, it's embarrassing to say, but I believed I'm a better criminal. I make better choices. That's why I never served more time than people who are doing much longer sentences. Yet when I actually met incarcerated people and they shared their stories with me and allowed me to share mine, I realized that again that our similarities outweigh our differences. When I met FBI people and other law enforcement and corrections people, and got to know them as human beings, I was able to overcome a lot of my fear and mistrust of law enforcement. And you heard about where I came from. I mean, you heard about the psychosis and the conspiracy theories and the meth and you heard about all of that. So if I, with a lot of help, can not only escape all of that, but get to a point where hopefully I'm helping a couple hundred incarcerated people each week. If I can get there by a process of having been allowed to know people in law enforcement and incarcerated people as human beings, I think that has a lot of power to transform a lot of lives on the incarcerated side, on the law enforcement side, and when it comes to, I guess what we would term civilians or citizens. So, human to human, it's like Brian Stevenson says, proximity is power. Brian Stevenson, he's sort of from your neck of the woods, right, George? I think Brian Stevenson. He says proximity is power, and once we get to move past, at least for me, and I've seen it in others. But once I got past the uniforms, the FBI agent, I know the FBI doesn't wear uniforms much of the time, like their SWAT teams do. But the point is, once I got past the uniform of a police officer, the uniform of someone in prison, and got to interact on a human level, I think important in that is language. There's a language barrier, when we speak common languages. So, for example, the reason I was able to start volunteering in prison in the first place was because I became affiliated with a couple of organizations, a nonprofit called Defy Ventures, and a sort of a spin. I don't know if spin-off is the right word. Another organization similar that formed called Hustle 2.0. What Defy Ventures and Hustle 2.0 do is they teach entrepreneurism to incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people. Entrepreneurism. What they learned was that many incarcerated people already have entrepreneurial skills for marketing, product development, sales, management. They apply their skills towards illegitimate means of making income, selling drugs, other forms of criminal activity. If they incarcerated people, many of them, not all, but many have existing entrepreneurial skills. What they lack and what people on the outside lack is a common language. So I take back a part of what I said. When I said people on the outside lack the language, what I meant to say was people on the outside have the language. There's a language of entrepreneurism. There's the business plan, the minimum viable product. There's time to market. I'm probably butchering a lot of these terms. It's been a while since I've done this. But when we give incarcerated people that language, when they understand what a business plan is, what a resume, I know resume is not maybe strictly speaking as related to entrepreneurism as some of the other things. But when we provide a common language, then we can get very successful entrepreneurs. And by we, I mean talking more about the 5 Ventures and Hustle 2.0, which both organizations I was fortunate to play some small role. When incarcerated people are given the language of entrepreneurism, now successful entrepreneurs, professors, people from various walks of life can speak the same language as an incarcerated person, that language of entrepreneurism, interact on a human-to-human level. The people who want to help, the entrepreneurs, the business people, and the people who want help, incarcerated persons, now have that common language. And what often happens is the first group, the entrepreneurs, the business people, they get helped just as much, if not more. They gain more wisdom and knowledge than even the incarcerated population. You know, thanks to the 5 Ventures, I've seen Google. You've all heard of Google. Google would send busloads of employees on a work day. They'd give their employees a day off, a paid day off, if I remember correctly. Load up buses full of Google employees, send the employees into the prison to volunteer helping incarcerated people gain skills for employment or entrepreneurism. LinkedIn, Facebook. I've sat down, thanks to the 5 Ventures, in conference rooms with people like Sheryl Sandberg, the leader of from Facebook. And she was the leader at the time. I don't know if she's still with Facebook. Jeffrey Weiner, who at the time, I don't know if he still is, was the CEO of LinkedIn. Sandberg and Weiner and others hosted formerly incarcerated people from the 5 Ventures in their in conference rooms in their organizations. So these are, remarkable leaders who achieved so much for their companies and for society in many ways, who are taking their time to work with formerly incarcerated people. So the desire in a lot of cases is there. From what I've seen, the dedication to transformation, the dedication to healing and rebuilding society where wounds and destruction have been caused by poor choices leading to incarceration. What I think we need more of, and what is often missing again, is the human-to-human connection. What I've seen, one way that I've seen, and one way of the many ways that are out there, is by that language. Whether it's entrepreneurism, whether it's spirituality, whether it's any number of things, forming that common language to get that bond, to create that human connection.
Imagine a day where fatigue doesn't stand a chance, where clarity perks up your focus as the clock ticks on. Discover W Energy, the drink that transforms ordinary moments into opportunities. With no sugar and flavors that feel like gourmet art, each sip stirs your senses, readying you for greatness. W Energy is a focus energy drink that contains no sugar and is available in a variety of unique flavors. Their coffee fruit cherry extract is the star of the show. This ingredient is what makes W unique and helps to provide smooth and effective focus and energy, making it perfect for anyone who needs to conquer a task. W flavors are created with one goal in mind: to taste unlike any other beverage. We combine bold and unique flavor combinations to craft an experience for your tongue with each sip. W achieves its smooth, effective focus with a high-end tasting experience while using no sugar, no fillers, and no artificial color or dyes. Every product they create follows the same philosophy: be effective, be clean, and taste as good as nature will allow. Use promo code OneMoment to enjoy 10% off their products. And most importantly, they sponsor the One Moment podcast. They are helping to raise awareness of mental health, substance use, suicide, and much more around the world, seeking to make a global impact, reducing stigmas and changing lives one moment at a time. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast. Follow us on our social media channels for more information and to stay up to date with our episodes.
Imagine a battle raging inside you, a battle between two wolves. One embodies all that is good, the other all that is evil. Vladimir Soloviev, a renowned Russian philosopher, once said, "What is important is not that in every man are the roots of good and evil, but which of the two prevails." This idea is beautifully captured in the Cherokee proverb about two wolves. When asked which wolf wins, the wise grandfather replied, "The one you feed." In our daily lives, we often feel pulled in various directions, experiencing internal conflicts and questioning our choices. These ideologies remind us to focus on doing what's right, to feed the good wolf within us. Feeding the good wolf means nurturing qualities like love, honesty, honor, integrity, respect, dignity, loyalty, and trust. Every day presents a new challenge. Which wolf will you feed today? Tomorrow? Next week? Next year? The choice is yours, and it shapes who you become. Will you let the good wolf prevail? Remember, the wolf you feed determines the path you walk and the person you grow into. So, as you close your eyes tonight, ask yourself, which wolf will you feed? Good night, family. KO.
I am constantly amazed by the profound impact of sharing our struggles with each other. The one day at a time phrase helps us remember to pause. In a pulsating world, we often forget to pause. That's where One Moment Podcast began its journey, committed to nurturing mindfulness, change, and advocacy around the world, reducing stigmas associated with mental health, substance use, and suicide, and changing the way the world reacts to these taboo topics. Your voice of reason starts here. Founded by mental health professionals and agents for change, our mission is to offer insightful narratives that foster not just reflection, serenity, and insights, but to tackle the problems and solutions of mental health, substance use, and suicide on a global scale. We are making it our vision and mission to make a global impact on the mental health, substance use, and suicide crisis. It is easy to feel isolated and unheard, or like you're carrying your burdens alone. On the One Moment Podcast, we remind you that you're not alone in your struggles. There are millions of people worldwide who are struggling, and the weight of your experiences deserve to be understood. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to have a voice. The One Moment Podcast is a safe haven for connection. We have weekly podcasts. Join us to learn more about mental health, substance use, suicide, community initiatives, and much more as we tackle these global crises, creating change in the world. Change begins when we recognize there is a problem. Remember, change starts with you. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast and to connect with us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels to stay up to date on our episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, One Moment Podcast. If you would like to support us, you can find the links to donate directly to us on our official site, onemoment.chain.box. You can also support our sponsors. We are presently sponsored by W Energy, The Place to Heal, Mindfully Me Counseling, PLLC, Bright Life Therapy, PLLC, and WebHash. Check our official site for more information. Subscribe now. Some photos in this ad were created by Grok.
Have you ever wondered how the principles of 12-step programs align with the core values of diversity, equity, and inclusion? Stay tuned to discover a surprising connection that might just change your perspective. Good morning, family. Today, we delve into the 12 traditions of 12-step programs and their emphasis on relationships. How do these traditions mirror DEI principles? Diversity is about our differences, and inclusion ensures everyone feels a sense of belonging. The 12 traditions guide us in respecting both differences and similarities. These traditions allow individuals to be themselves, free from barriers, and participate fully in relationships. They foster a sense of belonging, freedom, and love. People often say, the steps keep me from killing myself, and the traditions keep me from killing other people. This highlights the importance of these guidelines in maintaining harmony. Many religious ideologies also emphasize DEI principles. For instance, Judaism's Tikkun Olam focuses on community service and social justice, aiming to repair the world. Jainism, an ancient Indian religion, emphasizes compassion and empathy, recognizing the inherent value and dignity of everyone. The Lotus Sutra, a Buddhist scripture, teaches us to recognize the worth and dignity of every individual, reinforcing the idea of inclusion. Feeling a sense of belonging is crucial for our growth and development. It's inherent in our very fabric of existence as social beings. So, what will you do today to help someone else feel a sense of belonging? Let's continue to pass on love, compassion, and empathy to everyone we meet. Peace and love to all.
Can you say those three S's that you used again?
Spirituality, service, and self-improvement. If whatever I do hits one or more of those three S's, I know by and large I'm on the right path.
Well, it was very important to me to recognize the very first one, and that's spirituality. That's not religion. There's many religions out there, but there is not a specific branch of spirituality that is as individual to each human being as their personal relationship with the higher power of their understanding, which is a personal thing. It's very important. So My experience was I got involved as being a volunteer first because I didn't have anything in my background that would prevent me from going into the prison because I didn't, in the local area where I didn't have a set of skills to fit into those jobs that were available, which is only two types, ranching and farming, on the scale of the Great Plains, the Great Wide Plains after the Rocky Mountains. Anyways, so it was a privilege. I went through my program, worked at the prison for about 18 months in the 12-step program and the chapel. So the spirituality part of it was always pretty dominant in my life. I get that. I get where that came from. And then I come from a disadvantaged family, so I don't know what it's like to have something solid or stable. So I actually finally was able to develop a career. But at the same time, I had to present myself in such a way as I was better than. I'm like, I'm not better than them. So I was able to have relationships with those individuals that were incarcerated because I could relate to the lifestyles that they lived. I could relate with those individuals because I had the influence of those things from my childhood. So the biggest thing is the spirituality, and the second part of it is the service. There's two things that our higher power expects us to do, and that's to love him and to love others like you love yourself.
I was talking to somebody else about that today. I'm down here at the APNC conference, Addiction Professionals of North Carolina. We're having a conference right now in Asheville, North Carolina, and it was devastated by Hurricane Helene when it came through about a year ago or so. Well, a lady and I were talking earlier, and we were talking about, how there's this void inside each of us, right? And how you fill the void is by spirituality, right? And once you can, find or tap into that power, right, that sense of spirituality, as you were talking about, Ed, and as you were sharing too, once that void is filled, like that change, that transformation can occur. It can happen, but it's got to be filled with something, and it's going to be filled either with spirituality, right, with positive stuff, positivity, right, or it's going to be filled with drugs. It's going to be filled with sex, rock and roll, right, drug, sex, and rock and roll, as they said back in the 70s, right. And so I find a lot of people in recovery, regardless of religious ideology, as y'all two were saying, once they tap into some sort of spirituality, boom, light bulb comes on, right? And you see the change happen almost instantly. And that is some of the most beautiful piece of work I have ever witnessed as a clinician, as a person in, long-term recovery myself. I've seen it. And so you're right. You also spoke on something else. There's a human connection piece that's critically missing. And it doesn't matter. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether it's, law enforcement, whether it's, the general public, whether it's healthcare. Without that human connection, right? Like, we can't survive even as a species. It gets as simple and as basic as that. We're all biologically wired to have a social connection with somebody else, regardless of who it is. And that's one of the things that, I do work on with, the people that I serve. And then the last thing I'm gonna say on top of this, and if Trevor's got another question for you, I definitely want him to ask you too. But you mentioned purpose, right? Part of my clinical practice, right? I do practice out of what is called dialectical behavioral therapy, right? But I also take an existential approach. You mentioned purpose and finding a sense of purpose in life. Viktor Frankl, right? One of my favorite authors and theorists out of everyone that I've read and studied. He wrote the book called Man's Search for Meaning, and he's a Jewish Holocaust survivor. and he shared about he wrote about his experiences in a Jewish Holocaust camp and what he observed. And what he said is the people who lost hope and meaning and purpose, right, were the ones who were likely to not survive the camps, versus those who maintained their their hope, their meaning, their purpose. So what you shared was, I truly believe in. It is about finding that sense of purpose and tapping into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's purpose, path, and passion. Purpose and passion. The purpose, having a clear purpose. For me, it's the afterlife. My purpose in my life is to prepare myself as best I can for what I believe is coming next, which is the afterlife. I can't clearly define the afterlife, but another philosopher, if you can call Frankl a philosopher, Kierkegaard wrote that when we define God, we limit God. I think that's true for spirituality too. When I start to define spirituality too much, I also limit it. Well, my purpose is an afterlife, which I'm exploring what that means to me and have been. My path is the 3 S's: the spirituality, service, and self-improvement. And by the way, when Trevor started talking about the 3 S's, I looked at my computer clock and it's 3:33. It was 3:33 here in Massachusetts. So 3 3s and the 3 S's that to me is evidence of angels in our life guiding us. So the purpose, clear purpose in life, a solid path to get there, and the passion to overcome the inevitable obstacles, the inevitable storms of self-doubt, of negativity, of criticism, both from within and from without. Having the passion to get up after falling down and repeating that again and again and again. I've suffered a lot of setbacks in my path, as so many of us have. My setbacks aren't, more challenging or less challenging than anyone else's in a general way. I remember I was going to, I've been trying to do a TED Talk, not anymore, but I submitted, had to be a dozen TED Talk applications. You know how many TED Talks I was selected to? 0, not one. Nothing against the TED organization. I think it speaks more to my skills in the application process than to the organization. The closest I came, I got selected to the final round for the TED Talk Academy or something like that in New York City, immersive multi-week participation in the TED Talk, where you participate in it and then you end up doing a TED Talk at the end. I made it to the final round of interviews. During the interview, I only did one thing wrong. And that one thing was I made every mistake that you can make in an interview. That's all I did wrong. I just made every mistake. I showed up dressed. I was wearing a tie, but it was definitely not a tie environment. And I rambled. And anyway, so I got turned down for the TED Talk. However, had I been selected, I was disappointed. Had I been selected and gone off to New York City, which is where the academy was held, I keep calling it academy, but I don't think that's the right term. Anyway, had I left San Francisco, where I lived at the time, and gone to New York, I would have almost certainly missed that FBI award. I would not have been, because the FBI, the San Francisco office, was the one that recommended me for the award, and that's how I got to meet the FBI director. That award from the FBI director opens a lot of doors for me to go into prisons and be of service to our incarcerated population. A dozen applications for a TED Talk, the final round of interviews for the TED, whatever it was, this wonderful thing in New York, turned down, disappointing, yet that disappointment led to an opportunity to be of service that I almost certainly would not have received otherwise. Again, the purpose, if my purpose is the afterlife, which it is, if that's my purpose, and if I believe in a form of a higher power, which I do, when my time on this earth, as I know it now, is over, that higher power, that universe, that great spirit, the God, the whatever, probably won't care too much about a TED Talk, right? And nothing against TED Talks, but what that higher power will care about is how much I was of service, how much I followed my purpose, how much I pursued a path of spirituality and did things for others. So with that clarity of purpose, with that path, that's a solid path, the 3 S's or whatever any individual's path might be, and the passion. I received the passion in my life from incarcerated people. They instilled in me a passion for overcoming my mistakes and being of service. People in law enforcement and corrections instilled in me a passion to be of service and to transform lives. That's why I'm able to walk that path of the 3 S's despite the obstacles that have come my way. And there's been other obstacles too, a lot of depression, a lot of what people would call mental health challenges. You know, to this day, I will hear disembodied voices. I will hear that it's like a radio. You know, if you have a radio where you're at, unless you turn the radio on, the radio ain't going to play music or a sporting event, right? You have to. So if I dial in, what I can imagine is I hear angels communicating with me. Now, when I was high on meth, when I was actively using meth, the disembodied voices were anything but angel. Well, maybe unless they were angels in disguise. They sounded like they threatened me. These disembodied voices. When I was on meth, they threatened me with terrible torture, death. My friends, my family. They disembodied voices sounded like celebrities, like politicians, like people I knew. That was back in the methamphetamine addiction days. When I quit meth, the nature, the voices didn't go away immediately. In fact, far from it. But when I quit meth, the voices, their characteristics changed almost right away. There was no more threat, or very little, except for what you might consider the threatening nature of disembodied voices themselves. Even though the voices themselves persisted, thanks to quitting meth, thanks to getting the help to quit meth, what they quote unquote said to me or what they communicated to me changed much more for the positive. And then thanks to that path of the 3 S's, now I've come to believe in angels or interdimensional beings or ascended masters, things that a lot of people believe in, things that I were taught are real. These beings are real. I was taught this. These interdimensional beings, the ascended masters, the angels, they exist and they help us along spiritual paths. It's a way of transforming mental health challenges, not only giving them up as a weakness or an obstacle, but actually turning those mental health challenges into sources of strength. So I believe the angels are real. Not only that, they manifest in my life in a way that, sure, you could say it's a mental health challenge. I would say it's more just a form of deep-seated faith that's been instilled in me by many people. And without the angels in my life, I don't know that without the angels in my life, like we were saying, I would have taken my life many years ago. And certainly, I don't think I'd be as happy and fulfilled as I am now. And happiness doesn't mean no problems. Far from it. Happiness is not an absence of problems. Happiness is an abundance of solutions. That's what I've been taught. And I've been taught that to act like I'm happy, to pretend I'm happy when I'm more focused into my problems, that is happiness. You know, to pretend I'm motivated when I don't feel like doing something, that is motivation. To
fake it till you make it. Yep.
Fake it till you make it is something that you hear a lot. So, you know, these teachings, I certainly didn't make this up. They've been passed along to me, but thanks to the angels. And again, I can't say enough to the people in law enforcement, the FBI, the police, the corrections officers and executives and DOCs who helped me. Thanks to them and thanks to the wonderful women and men I've met in incarcerated populations, I've had this beautiful opportunity to turn my life around and hopefully pass along some value to your podcast audience, your one moment audience, and to incarcerated people and to law enforcement people that we serve.
Does anyone else have that one tool that makes building a website a breeze? In an era driven by digital change, WebHash is the indispensable tool that holds the key to effortless website creation. Create websites that endure, defy censorship, and bypass any single point of failure. As cutting-edge technology redefines reality, seize the power to build beyond limits. Join the Web3 revolution now and forge paths others can only dream of. Visit our site today and build your legacy. Building my own space on the web was always a grind until I hit up WebHash. Their no-code builder is my ace. It's swift and solid. It's like rocking a digital fortress that's immune to the typical shutdowns. Level up your web presence without stress. Ready to stake your claim in the digital realm? Dive into WebHash today, connect your Web3 wallet, and get started. They have multiple subscription plans, from a free version to a lifetime subscription. Check them out today at webhash.com. Most importantly, they sponsor the One Moment podcast, helping to raise awareness to critical topics in the healthcare field. Our official website was built using the WebHash platform. Throughout the projects that the One Moment movement built on WebHash, they stood behind and supported it all the way. Sign up and start building your website today. Don't forget to visit onemoment.chain.box and subscribe to our social media channels.
No, absolutely, and we've covered a lot of great content. We've talked about a lot of good in-depth stuff, and I think all of it's needed. And your message brings hope to thousands and millions of people, and that's the reason we do this is to get people on. Let's talk about problems, but let's not just live in the problem, and it's about living in the solution. And part of what you shared as far as living in the solution, it is about, human connection, right? It doesn't matter, badge, no badge, incarceration, no incarceration, therapist, no therapist, active drug user, active bipolar, active schizoaffective, or not, none of those, right? Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we are human. And the goal is to treat each other with respect, regardless of political affiliation, biology, regardless of spiritual ideology, background, etc. And that's what you shared today. You gave a message of hope. You do a lot for the community, and I am, as I said, perplexed to see people go from, when we were broken, totally devastated, facing life in prison, when there's no hope, we are completely hopeless, helpless, worthless, right? Because those voices tell us we're all of those things, right? We'll never be anything. To go from that to a state of having purpose, meaning, and that's what I hope people get when they watch this, unfortunately, Ruben wasn't able to make it. Unfortunately, Trevor got kicked off, but and I can edit all of that stuff out. That's not an issue at all. The goal is still the same, and that's what you shared. You shared that you have your goalpost and you're aiming for that. What do you feel like was the hardest thing for you to do what you're doing right now? What do you feel like was the very first thing, or not the first thing, but the hardest thing to overcome to get to where you're at right now?
Surrendering, turning my life over to a form of higher power, believing in the angels. If you listening are struggling, the angels are real. There are some form of angels in your life. There are some form of spirits, I believe. I was sent here, not sent here necessarily, but I was given the advantages I was given, and the chance from you, Kevin, and your team and so many others to say that angels are real and they will help you. That's the nature of angels. It's like water. Water always flows downhill. You're never going to see a stream flowing up a mountain, right? Water only goes in one direction, downhill. If you're struggling, if you seek help from the angels, they have to help you. That's their nature. There are these beings, the spirits, the angels that will help you, that do help you. If you're on a spiritual path, it's a challenging path. It's not always a clear path. Yet I'm here to tell you that if we put one foot, when you put one foot in front of the other and follow a spiritual path and believe in the angels, that it's doable. It's doable, at least so far as I've seen and I've experienced in my own life. And I see it a lot of times. Going back to Pelican Bay, I've sat across from a leader of the Aryan Brotherhood, a prison gang we've all heard of, a leader in the Black Guerrilla family. I have a friend who's a lead. He's retired now, but he was a lead of a SWAT team, an FBI SWAT team. Very successful career. And when we think about, these prison gangs, a lot of the descriptions that come to mind are things like monsters, criminals, killers. These are kind of the labels. Certainly, people who are members of a prison gang probably have made mistakes. They probably have made mistakes, and there are factors that influence their mistakes. And certainly, it's likely that they've made poor choices. Yet I've seen they're human beings. I've seen them as human beings and believe that in many cases, not all, if they had been given the same opportunities as they would have turned out fine. It would have turned out fine. You see a leader of a SWAT team in this day and age, an FBI SWAT team, that person has labels put on them. You don't have to cycle through all the labels, but because of the uniform of an FBI SWAT team agent, that person will be labeled. Yet the guy I'm thinking of, his name is Dan, is a good friend of mine and helped me. If it wasn't for Dan, I wouldn't have received that FBI award and wouldn't have had the opportunities to serve in prison. Whoever you are listening, when we can look past labels that others have and certainly look past the labels that people have placed upon you. If you're listening, you may have been labeled as crazy. You may have been labeled as mentally ill. You may have been labeled as a criminal, an addict. You may have been labeled as a monster. You may be labeled as no good. Look past the labels in others, whether those others are cops, whether those labels are, whether those others are whoever they may be. That will help you look past the labels that have been applied to you. You're a human being. You have a beautiful spirit. You might have made mistakes. You might have been given challenges in life. Yet the labels that have been put upon you, they're not who you are any more than the label that might be put upon a cop just because he or she is a cop doesn't reflect the human being wearing the badge. That's what I've learned. Yet definitely, pursue that path of the 3 S's or whatever path you choose. Pursue it on your own. See where it leads you. Whoever you are, I'm here to tell you that I believe in you and I believe in the angels that will help you when you're on your spiritual path.
No, absolutely. What you said was, there at the end too was absolutely critical. It is about having that self belief, right? It's not about self doubt anymore. It's about having self belief. And so, if somebody was interested in getting your book, where would they be able to find your book at?
Hey, thanks for asking. Yeah, go to our website, www.un-carcerated.org. www.un-carcerated.org. You can find the book there. It's $5. It's a good book. I feel it's a solid. The feedback is very good. It's a solid book, and every dollar that you spend on the book goes to the nonprofit. I don't make any money off it. I'm a volunteer. I don't draw a salary, nothing like that. So all the money you spend on the book is going to go to helping incarcerated people, or should I say almost all the money. We got to pay for a Zoom license. We got to pay for, a Google Workspace account or something like that. But the bulk of what I'm trying to say is none of the $5 you spend on my book is going to go into my pocket. It's going to go to helping incarcerated people. And you'll like the book, man. I think you'll like the book. Yeah. You read it yet, Kevin? Have I? What I meant to say is, did I remember to send you a copy?
I haven't read it yet.
That's okay. It's probably, why you haven't read it? Because I forgot to send you a copy. That's on me.
I would definitely like a copy.
It's called
Trevor. If you had been here for the whole podcast, I'd offer to send you a copy too, but you dropped out. So Ruben, we're not even going to talk about it. Hey, in all seriousness, Trevor, it's been awesome to meet you, and Ruben too. You guys are doing some solid work, man. The 3 S's on your shirt. That's those are the angels speaking to us, I believe.
Yeah. Nah, and I guess do you one of my next questions is, and I know we have to wrap this up, and I know you got a meeting coming up here in a few minutes. Do you have any more books that you are working on right now?
Yeah, it's funny you ask. I just started a book. I don't like to talk about things that I started this recently because a lot of them fizzle out, but I've had this idea for a while, and we'll see where no guarantees, but I'm writing a book Or, I wrote the draft of the first chapter, and it's about what we've been talking about, how to form partnerships with law enforcement in order to most effectively serve incarcerated people, how to respect the humanity of FBI, police, corrections, and do so in a way that helps us serve incarcerated people, how to build bridges of trust, how to overcome misconceptions, how to ultimately heal society, make our streets safer, and our children's futures brighter. That's the idea for the next book. So we'll see where it goes. It's only been a short while, but it's related to the work that I've been helped to do for many years. If we can get it into book form, then that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is phenomenal. Everything you've shared has been phenomenal. So if you could give a call to action, what would your call to action be for anybody who listens to this?
My call to action would be seek first the realm of heaven. Seek first the realm of heaven. In the words of George Harrison, everything can wait except the search for a spiritual meaning. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. George Harrison, he was in the Beatles. As we know, the Beatles, one of the greatest rock and roll groups in history, as many people feel, me being one of them. The Beatles, so George Harrison is saying, even the heights of rock and roll stardom can wait, but that search for spiritual meaning cannot wait. If that works for George Harrison, certainly it can work for Ed Kressy. I believe it will work for you. Seek ye first the realm of heaven. Everything can wait. The other stuff is important. But make no mistake, the other stuff is important, but it can wait. Whatever the it is can wait. That search for spiritual meaning cannot wait. That would be the call to action.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, for those of you who are watching, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are on YouTube at One Moment Podcast. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X. We are on Focus and Minds, and we are also on Spotify. Those are our current.
Can you get on any more platforms? Can you find any more platforms? No, I'm trying to be funny. That's awesome, man. That's beautiful. You certainly are putting yourself out there for people who want the benefit of the great work you're doing.
Absolutely. Listen, we are. I'm probably. We are on Twitch too, but when we do Twitch, we live stream it. And we thought about getting on Apple. We're not going to do Apple as of yet. And I've thought about doing Kick and Rumble. I've thought about doing those two, but we're kind of keeping it where we're at for right now until we get the audience increases. And plus this is a lot of work just to keep up, and we do all of our work ourselves. So like we don't have no big tech crew. Like we do all of the editing ourselves. We created our own advertisements. Like we do all the editing. Like we do it all.
Have you ever felt like the world would be better off without you? You're not alone, and there's more to this feeling than you might think. New research reveals that suicidal thoughts and behaviors are unique to each individual, challenging the old belief that it's solely due to depression. When people are suicidal, they often believe they are a burden and that their absence would relieve others. They might see suicide as a solution to their overwhelming problems, feeling lost and unloved. But ancient wisdom, like that from the Bhagavad Gita, teaches us to give up selfishness and embrace kindness, respect, and compassion for all. St. Paul once said, "Love never fails," reminding us of the enduring power of love in our lives. No matter where you are in your struggles, remember that someone cares about you, trusts you, and loves you. You are not a burden. Time has a way of healing, and your struggles will pass. Don't give up before the miracle happens. Hold on, because peace and love are within reach. If you need immediate help, please contact local emergency services. Peace and love to all. KO.
Does anyone else have that one tool that makes building a website a breeze? In an era driven by digital change, WebHash is the indispensable tool that holds the key to effortless website creation. Create websites that endure, defy censorship, and bypass any single point of failure. As cutting-edge technology redefines reality, seize the power to build beyond limits. Join the Web3 revolution now and forge paths others can only dream of. Visit our site today and build your legacy. Building my own space on the web was always a grind until I hit up WebHash. Their no-code builder is my ace. It's swift and solid. It's like rocking a digital fortress that's immune to the typical shutdowns. Level up your web presence without stress. Ready to stake your claim in the digital realm? Dive into WebHash today, connect your Web3 wallet, and get started. They have multiple subscription plans, from a free version to a lifetime subscription. Check them out today at webhash.com. Most importantly, they sponsor the One Moment podcast, helping to raise awareness to critical topics in the healthcare field. Our official website was built using the WebHash platform. Throughout the projects that the One Moment movement built on WebHash, they stood behind and supported it all the way. Sign up and start building your website today. Don't forget to visit onemoment.chain.box and subscribe to our social media channels.
Have you ever felt unstoppable, like nothing could stand in your way? Sia's powerful lyrics in Unstoppable and reflections from Narcotics Anonymous's Just for Today inspire us to explore the choices we face in life. Nobody chooses their struggles with mental health or substance use, yet our decisions shape our paths. It's a journey filled with challenges, but also with opportunities for strength and resilience. Recovery is not just about overcoming obstacles, it's about making choices that reflect our inner power and determination. Imagine the impact of your decisions, not just on your life, but on those around you who are battling their own challenges. Every choice we make can either build us up or break us down. What will you choose today? Reflect on the power of your decisions. Each one is a step towards becoming unstoppable. Think about the people who look up to you. Your choices can inspire them to find their own strength. In moments of doubt, remember that resilience is built one decision at a time. Choose to be strong. Take a moment to reflect. What choice will you make today? Will it be one that showcases your unstoppable spirit? Peace and love to all. Remember, your choices define your journey. Stay unstoppable.
In the heart of the city, a vision was born, not just a piece of clothing, but a movement. Vital Apparel reflects not just the raw edge of the streets, but the spirit of innovation to bring about change in mental health worldwide. It's more than a style, it's a statement, a blend of comfort with an attitude made for those who refuse to be average. Embrace the culture, ignite your passion, and wear the revolution. Discover your new favorite piece today and be part of something larger than life. Visit our link now at vtlapparel.com to grab your next outfit. Use promo code ONEMOMENT to get 15% off your order. Why support us? The founders of Vital Apparel, Hung Dao and Alex Kozub, sought out to raise awareness, seeking to change the stigma around mental health. 5% of their profits are donated to Brain Research Foundation, furthering the research in mental health. Vital Apparel sponsors the One Moment podcast. We partnered with one another so that together we can make a global impact on mental health, substance use, and suicide, saving lives one moment at a time around the world. Help us break the stigma. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast and to connect with us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels to stay up to date on our episodes. Subscribe now. Some photos in this ad were created by Grok.